So let's respond to online asexuality tests. Ooh. Like plenty of other ace people in the asexual community, I discovered asexuality online. I discovered it on Tumblr specifically. I was browsing around on Tumblr, ran across some asexuality posts, responded to what I was seeing there really, really strongly, and started to dig deeper. And I recognized at 42 years old that asexuality was what described my personal experience. And while Tumblr isn't the thing that unites all of us in the ace community, going online and discovering asexuality is a pretty common story. And that's because there really isn't a lot of places in the world offline that have information about asexuality or representation of asexuality for us to look out at the world, see something there, and go, oh, hey, that's me. So for most of us, going online and finding those online communities where asexuality is talked about, where asexual information is shared, and where asexual people are existing and living, that's where we find ourselves and our community. So I thought it would be interesting to check out some of the online asexuality quizzes, which a lot of people, I'm sure, stumble across in their online searching when they're trying to figure themselves out. You know, all you have to do is go into Google and type, "Am I asexual?" and you can find a host of quizzes that will help you sort those things out. And I was curious to see how effective those quizzes are. Spoilers, really doubtful. And also to see how far off the mark some of them might be once, you know more about asexuality. So let's check out some asexuality quizzes. Yeah, cool. So the first quiz I checked out was the very first quiz that was listed in the Google search when I searched, "Am I asexual?" quiz. And it's from a website called ProProf's Quizzes, and it's just simply called "Am I Asexual?" quiz. So it's 10 questions, and let's see how it goes. So this one gets off to a pretty good start. The very first question is, how well do you relate to this statement? "I don't feel sexually attracted to anyone ever, regardless of gender or circumstance," which is encouraging, because one of the most common misconceptions about asexuality is that it is about sexual activity and not about attraction. So here, a quiz starting out with attraction, that's a pretty decent sign. Another good question, the third question, is, you see a stranger who would be pretty sexually attractive to most people. How would you usually feel? That's encouraging. That's really focusing on attraction and not activity. So pluses there. So as I'm working through this quiz, something that's really interesting about the way they talk about sex itself in the quiz, it's never necessarily spoken of as a necessity. It always is sort of reflecting on, well, how do you feel about sex in general? Never saying definitively that, one could not have sex or does definitely have to have sex to either be ace or allo. And that is not a common thing. Most people really fall in the camp of asexuality is not having sex. This quiz is sort of avoiding that for the most part. So, thumbs up to that. I really like the 9th question in this quiz, which is, think about the first time you learned about asexuality. What were your first thoughts or knee-jerk reactions? I really appreciate that because I think it's really important for us to trust our instincts about who we are and what our experiences are. I think a lot of times, and I see this a lot, especially with young ace folks or young questioning folks, there's so much questioning about every little minute detail of what their feelings are. And they're constantly questioning the validity of their own understanding of their experience. So I think it's nice to include this question, just to say, hey, what are your initial thoughts about asexuality when you think about it? A lot of times that is a good indicator of where you're headed without all the questioning, without all the listening to society's messages, without all the doubt and anxiety. And I really like the last question, what is sexual attraction to you? And what I like is that the answers sort of run the gamut between answers that sort of understand sexual attraction in the way that we sort of anticipate it to be understood, answers that say, like, I know for a fact that I do not have it at all, and all the in-between places too. It's nice to have people thinking about that, about what is sexual attraction to you, because that really helps you understand how you're relating to that idea and why asexuality may be something that relates to you. But overall, I really thought this was a pretty solid quiz that asked some very straightforward and basic questions that you should be asking yourself when you're thinking about asexuality. And it treated things in a sort of respectful way that didn't lean too heavily on ace means no sex as an understanding for asexuality. So proprofs.com asexuality quiz, not bad. Good job there. So the next quiz that I checked out was from marriage.com. It is the Am I Asexual quiz, and it also has 10 questions. But this one is already like a little troublesome from the very beginning. On the very first page of the quiz, this is how they describe asexuality. An asexual person is a person who does not engage in a sexual activity purely because they do not have the drive to do so. An asexual person has no sexual feelings or desire. Ooh. Oh no, trouble, danger, Will Robinson. This quiz already off the bat is falling into some aphobic ideas about asexuality, that not having sex or not having any desire whatsoever equals asexuality. And as we know, that is not the case. But let's give the quiz a shot and see where it goes. Okay, so the quiz begins on a totally weird note. The first question is, what kind of a superhero are you? I think this is just like this is an error. This is probably like a quiz template and someone didn't change the first question. But it does, the answers all focus on sexual activity, whether you want it or not. And that is not what asexuality is. Asexuality is about attraction. The third question is, do you enjoy porn? As though that is some indication of one's asexuality. So far, all of the questions in the quiz have focused on some kind of sexual activity and has not focused at all on attraction. Yikes. Question 4, do you masturbate? No quiz. No quiz, no. So I'm all the way on question 7 now, and, we're still in this world of just focusing on activities or physical things and not so much attraction. The 7th question is, at times, do you become aroused? A fundamental misunderstanding of asexuality. You can be ace or allo and still be aroused. That is not specific to allosexual people. So finally, we get to a question, by question 9, that is not about sexual activity, but the question is simply, are you in a relationship? As though that has anything to do with one's asexuality. Quiz. So this quiz, even though by my answers this quiz did correctly guess that I may be asexual, this quiz is really a problem. There's nothing in this quiz at all that talks about sexual attraction. And that's what asexuality is about. Our experience or lack of experience of sexual attraction. This focuses entirely on behaviors that surround attraction, whether or not you are watching porn or enjoy talking about or hearing about sex, whether or not you're in a relationship, whether or not you masturbate. All of those things are not intrinsic to being asexual. You can do all those things and be ace. You cannot do all those things and also be ace. But asexuality is about something separate and different in specific. And so this quiz, major fail from marriage.com on the Am I Asexual quiz. So the last asexuality quiz is from brainfall.com, and it is just called the Asexuality quiz. Hopefully we will have better luck on this one than we did on the last one. So we're off to a pretty good start. The first question, is the idea of sex and intimacy something that really excites you? It offers a bunch of answers that run an interesting spectrum spectrum of responses. Some of the answers really do kind of get to the heart of being allo, some get to the heart of being ace, but we also have questions that suggest demisexuality and gray sexuality, and that is a positive sign to me. So these questions are a lot better than the marriage.com test questions. And they are, again, as I'm going through the quiz, we're seeing this nice range of responses that would lead to allo, ace, demi. And that is super, super helpful. I'm really appreciating this brainfall quiz. I think it's actually maybe the best one so far. Well, see, I said that and I really should have kept my mouth shut. By the time we get to like question 7, we are really starting to focus in on activity, where it's asking about, do you masturbate? What kind of thoughts go through your mind? I still think that's like an unnecessary focus when we're thinking about asexuality. You know, asexual people can masturbate as allosexual people do. It isn't necessarily a sign. Your feelings about masturbation isn't necessarily a sign of your asexuality. It is something separate. It's a separate relationship that you have. So we're, little good, little bad on this one. So I really appreciate question number 8. If you had to choose between eating a delicious dessert of your choice or having hot sex, which would you pick? I mean, that's like a weird question. And I'm not really sure what that has to do with sexual attraction. But what's the dessert? That's the thing I'd want to know. Like, what exactly is the dessert? I mean, are we talking about like a peach cobbler, or are we talking about like a chocolate cake or a hot fudge sundae? I need to kind of know what kind of dessert we're talking. I'm assuming, of course, if it's cake, then that's automatically asexual and the quiz is over. You've got your answer right there. Yeah, so when the quiz wraps up, we're still focused on physical things. We started out so strong talking about attraction and feelings around how we are interested in other people, but we devolved into strictly questions about physical stuff. So not great. I would probably say the brainfall quiz is like middle of the pack here in terms of like getting to what asexuality actually is. Now, look, I know that we don't really take online quizzes like this very seriously when it comes to really hardcore identity questions, but I do think it's important to take a look at them and check them out and see what people are maybe stumbling across. It is important to remember that for a lot of people, there is no other place than the internet to find anything about asexuality. They don't see asexual people in the world. They don't know any asexual people in person, and they just don't sort of see any representations of it. So going to Google and typing, "Am I asexual?" is maybe the first and only thing a person can think of to do to find this kind of information. So it's important for us to sort of recognize what kind of information you might be stumbling across, what kind of diagnostic quizzes you might find that have been thrown together on the internet. In the case of the first one, like, that's not so bad. I wouldn't feel too bad about it. But if the first thing you stumble across is that marriage.com one, that is going to give you some really skewed ideas about what our experience and community is. I guess we got to just make better online quizzes for people. Well, I hope you had fun checking out those quizzes with me. Go and search Am I Asexual quiz on Google and take other ones and see what you think about them. And actually, if you go and take these quizzes, let me know in the comments what you think about those quizzes. If you think they're as good or as bad as I thought they were. What other problems do you see through those quizzes? Let me know in the comments, or drop the links to other ones that are worse or better that we should be taking a look at. So I'll see you in the next video.